Mitt Romney, the former presidential candidate, is now calling on one very specific group to pay a whole lot more into Social Security so that this program can continue to pay out all the promised benefits to all the beneficiaries for many years and decades into the future. In fact, I also have this article right here, which I will pop up on the screen in just a second so you can see and read for yourself exactly what he's saying right here and who he's calling on, because this is super interesting. Remember, Mitt Romney ran for president quite a few years ago as a Republican, right? However, what he is suggesting, again, in this article and in the op-ed that he put into the New York Times just the other day, is basically saying something totally opposite of what he was saying just a few years ago and what many of his Republican colleagues are also suggesting as well when it comes down to these ideas. This is actually very, very interesting, and it just shows the political urgency behind getting a deal done and something behind Social Security sooner versus later. In fact, let's pop this article up right here, right now. Feel free to take a look at this. Feel free to read through it. I will point out some of the key details. But again, he's flipping on this and suggesting that high income, in other words, rich people, should be paying significantly more into Social Security through a variety of different tax means, okay? Now, drop your comments down below. I would love to hear what you have to say about this. Do you think high income / rich people should be paying significantly more in taxes into Social Security to fund this program and make sure that it does not become insolvent in about 6 to 6.5 years? Because that's all the time that we have. We're running out of time. And again, exactly what Mitt Romney is saying here is that the political urgency is basically saying, hey, we've got to do something and we need to do something quickly. Where are we going to find the money? Where's the money at, right? Where's all the money? Anyway, that's a big question that many people are wondering, is that where is the money going to come from to fund this program? Well, basically, Mitt Romney is coming forward with a variety of different means in which higher income or rich people could be basically subject to significantly higher taxes, and then that money would go to the Social Security Trust Fund to avoid the whole insolvency issue, which if they do nothing about it, as I've mentioned many times before in other videos, if they do nothing about the insolvency issue, we would be looking at a cut to benefits anywhere between about 19 and 24% in about 6.5 years, give or take a little bit. That time frame is going to continue to compress the closer and closer that we get to that time, right around, say, 2032 or so, give or take a little bit. That's not that many years away, right? But the point being is that this is super interesting that he's saying this, because being a former Republican presidential candidate and still being a Republican, it's interesting that he's coming forward saying, hey, we've got to raise taxes. You almost never hear this. But he's coming forward, and again, this just underscores the urgency behind these politicians and how they really, really, really need to do something for this program. In fact, I was just out in a separate video, I don't know, maybe a week ago or so. I don't know how long ago it was. It was recently. I was out in a separate video, and I said, we want reform with Social Security. I know that sounds very scary, like, no, don't touch the program. Don't do anything to the program. I said this in the video the other day. I was like, hey, think of it this way. Reform saves the program. If they do nothing to reform Social Security, we are literally guaranteed a cut of between about 19 and 24% as of right now. I'm going to be fair with you. The closer that we get to the timeline of insolvency, the likelihood of becoming insolvent and seeing a huge cut to benefits gets greater and greater. So we want reform to this program, even though that sounds very contrary to what many people believe. I'm just saying, take your pick. A change to the program that saves the full benefit, or no reform whatsoever, and we all see a guaranteed cut of around, say, 20+%. That'd be nasty for a lot of people, right? So anyway, he wrote this op-ed, as in Mitt Romney here, and basically just calling on taxes, higher taxes for the rich and the high income. Now, here's one thing that I want to point out really quickly. Depending on where, or basically where they draw the line on this, like who is determined as high income, where would they draw this money from, what would the thresholds be, stuff like that, it really depends. But the point being is that the high income really only encompass like 5-ish% of our population. It's a very small percentage of our population that actually falls into the group of, say, high income, someone that would actually be impacted by some of these tax increases that he's suggesting. I'm not saying that's not going to work. All I'm saying is that you're tapping into a very small group of people, about 5% of our population, that actually falls into this category. So unless they raise taxes significantly on this group of people, it's going to help. Don't get me wrong. It's certainly going to help. It's going to raise money. It's going to raise fund. It's going to put more money into the trust fund. But unless they raise taxes significantly, I don't know if this is really going to solve the issue, just simply because of the sheer volume of people that they're going to raise the taxes on. Again, a very small percentage, about 5% of our population. And again, I'm not saying that it couldn't work. It absolutely could work, but the tax rate in which these individuals would need to pay would actually need to be pretty significant in order for them to actually raise the amount of money and funding that they need to actually make sure that the program does not become insolvent. I'm just saying as well, if they're going after the highest income people, the richest people out there, honestly, they have the deep pockets to do it, so it certainly could be done, but it would also encompass a very high tax rate in order to get that done. Does that kind of make sense? Right? So again, I'm not saying that it's not the solution. I'm not saying that it is the solution. I'm just saying this is what we have to contend with, and this is another plan that is out there. And by the way, Mitt Romney is not the only person suggesting this. There's a whole bunch of people that are out there saying basically the same thing. Tax the rich, scrap the cap, all kinds of things like this. And by the way, when I say scrap the cap, that's a famous little saying out of many different people, like Bernie Sanders and those people like that. And basically what they're talking about is the cap on the maximum taxable earnings. So for 2026, it's $185,000+. So basically what that means is that any income up to, say, the wage cap, $185,000+, all has income, all has payroll taxes that go to the Social Security Trust Fund. Any income above that threshold is no longer taxable by Social Security. So that means the higher income people, basically, once they've fulfilled their tax obligation to Social Security for the year, there's no more tax on Social Security, or payroll tax, okay? Does that kind of make sense? So, and then they're kind of off the hook. Well, they're saying, hey, scrap the cap, tax all that income, so that Social Security payroll taxes apply to all the income, and that would generate significantly more money. But again, the problem being is that it's only impacting about 5% of the total population that actually has an income above those thresholds that would actually be taxed at those rates. Does that kind of make sense? Right? So anyway, who knows what the solution is? I don't know. There's a lot of things that they could do. There's a lot of proposals that are out there. But this is interesting. And again, underscoring the urgency on a political basis to get something done. When you start to see people coming across and basically siding with the other side of the aisle, saying, hey, we've got to do something here. Here's the plan on how to do this. It really shows the urgency behind what really needs to be done and how it needs to be done quickly. Anyway, just want to share this with you. And again, I find this to be very, very fascinating. As I find more information that comes across, I will certainly bring it to your attention immediately as it comes out. I'm here for you in videos, in live streams, whatever it takes. I will do whatever I can to help you in this community. Thank you so much for watching this. If you have not done so, please consider subscribing. 100% free. Big subscribe button down below. Please share the video. Big share button right down below as well. Otherwise, check out the other 6,000 plus videos here on the channel in the video library. The popular videos I've hand selected for you down below in the description or the top of the comment section. Otherwise, until next time, please have a nice day. Thank you so much again. Please subscribe. Please share the video. Drop your comments down below. I'd love to hear from you on this idea here. And I'll catch you again later in the next video. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you again very, very soon. All right.